Every once in a while, a book comes along that really is a generational work, and one such book is The Return of the Gods by Jonathan Cahn. The book has been recommended to me for some time, and I only recently read it. It is so well put together. The approach of the author and how he lays everything out is unique and very eye-opening. The things he speaks of in this book, you can see unfolding before your eyes. The Return of the Gods by Jonathan Cahn is an eye-opening exploration of the spiritual forces that he details have fundamentally transformed American society. Central to Kahn's thesis is the concept of the Dark Trinity, consisting of three ancient pagan gods or demonic spirits: Baal, Ishtar, and Molech. These entities, according to Cahn, have not only resurfaced, but have taken possession, enchanted, and wrought destruction upon what was once a predominantly Christian nation. The truth is, once upon a time, this nation was Christian. Public declarations and documents were suffused with Christian references, demonstrating a widespread cultural and institutional acknowledgement of Christian values. At a time in history, this nation could have been described as a Christian nation. From national holidays to the inscriptions on government buildings, Christian symbols were prevalent, reflecting the religion's integral role in society. Children prayed before classes. School assemblies and events often opened with prayer, reinforcing the Christian foundations in this nation. Bibles were found in schools and hotel rooms. These were not merely passive presences, they were actively used in teaching and guidance, symbolizing a nation comfortable with its Christian identity. Church attendance was on the rise. Churches were not only places of worship, but also centers of community, social life, and community support, integral to the social fabric of towns and cities. When people said, "God bless America," once upon a time, they meant the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This prayer was a heartfelt prayer for divine oversight and blessing, reflecting a common understanding of the nation's spiritual heritage and divine providence from the one true living God. Now, when people say, "God bless America," I have no idea what God and what they even mean. This phrase has become a routine sign-off or a general well-wishing, losing its original depth and Christian significance. This nation was once a Christian nation. Symbols like the cross and Bible verses displayed in public spaces attested to this identity, weaving Christianity into the daily lives of its citizens. It's no secret that church attendance is in decline in America. The once bustling Sunday morning congregations have thinned. Churches across the nation are seeing fewer attendees, signaling a shift in commitment and cultural priority. It's no secret that according to collected data, the percentage of people who claim to be Christian in this nation is declining. Surveys and polls reflect this change, showing a trend towards secularism or the rise of the nones, those who identify with no religious affiliation at all. The Return of the Gods by Jonathan Cahn is an eye-opening book which points to these facts, and in my opinion, the premise of the book is founded on the 12th chapter of the book of Matthew, where it states that once an unclean spirit leaves a man, or in this case, a nation, the state of that man is worse than it ever was before. Matthew chapter 12, verse 43 to 45. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out. And when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. Then goeth he, and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. And they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto this wicked generation. And what Cahn is stating is that these spirits, Baal, Ishtar, or Astarte, and Molech, that once left are returning to this nation, and the state of the nation is worse than what it once was. Throughout the book, he systematically goes through the nation's history and cites specific examples of why these spirits are coming back. Cahn begins by detailing the historical context and characteristics of each member of this dark trinity. Baal, a god known from ancient texts and cultures, represents the spirit of possession in Kahn's narrative. This spirit is linked to the pursuit of power and control, manifesting in modern America as a drive for dominance in various societal domains, including politics, economics, and culture. The possession by Baal leads to an erosion of moral values and the prioritization of power and success over spiritual and communal well-being. Ishtar, the second of the trio, is associated with enchantment, historically worshipped as a goddess of fertility, love, war, and sex. Ishtar in Khan's analysis symbolizes the seductive allure of sexual liberation and sexual promiscuity. Khan suggests that Ishtar's enchantment has permeated cultural expressions and social policies, seducing the nation away from its biblical roots and leading to a broader acceptance of what he views as moral decay. The third spirit, Molech, represents destruction, particularly the destruction of the innocent. Molech, whom ancient cultures appeased him through child sacrifice, is used by Khan to reveal contemporary practices that devalue and destroy human life. This spirit's influence, according to Khan, reflects a society that has lost its respect for life, mirroring the darkest aspects of pagan worship. And this is very much the society we are living in today. Khan points that these spirits' resurgence marks a significant spiritual decline from America's founding principles, which were deeply rooted in Judeo-Christian values. He explains that this spiritual decay has been gradual but decisive, leading to a nation that can no longer be described in any meaningful sense as Christian. This transformation, he asserts, has not been accidental, but is the result of spiritual forces actively at work. Throughout the book, Khan uses a mix of biblical exegesis, historical analysis, and modern examples to illustrate how these ancient deities have manifested in contemporary issues, steering the nation away from its founding values. Each chapter not only outlines the problems, but also serves as a clarion call for Christians to recognize and combat these spiritual influences. By returning to a more devout and active faith, Khan believes individuals can resist these forces and help steer the nation back to its spiritual roots. Now today we are going to focus on Ishtar. Ishtar, an ancient Mesopotamian goddess, epitomizes the complex interplay between love, beauty, fertility, warfare, and sexuality. Revered across various cultures including the Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians, Ishtar, known as Inanna in Sumerian culture, symbolized a myriad of powerful attributes. We can see her influence in our world today, now more than ever. Associated with the planet Venus, Ishtar represented the morning and evening star, embodying the celestial cycle of darkness and light. Her dual nature as both a goddess of love and war uniquely positioned her as a deity of immense influence and paradox. In her role as the goddess of love and fertility, Ishtar was celebrated as a patroness of sexual freedom and sexual promiscuity. We can see her influence in our world today, now more than ever. Sin is accessible now, like no other time. You are aware of the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah, the profound wickedness of Noah's generation. Scripture recounts how God observed the wickedness of man as great on the earth, with every thought of his heart bent on evil continually during Noah's time. You also know of the egregious sins of Babylon, brimming with idolatry, pride, arrogance, self-exaltation, debauchery, and excess. Now, heed this. The era in which we live has amalgamated all the sins that were prevalent in these historical epochs and woven them into the very fabric of our contemporary society. The sins of Sodom and Gomorrah, the era of Noah, and the Babylonian age, all their transgressions are exalted and prevalent in our generation. When you examine these periods in the Bible and then compare them with our current era, the parallels are startling. It is undeniable that our society has morphed into a crucible, blending the most infamous and destructive periods recorded in the scriptures into our present day. Reflecting on the depravities of Sodom and Gomorrah, the relentless wickedness of Noah's era, and the unbridled hedonism of Babylon, one might be tempted to think that such profound sinfulness was confined to those specific times. However, the stark reality is that these sins, once confined to distinct cultures and periods, now infuse our daily lives, creating a society steeped in moral decay. Central to this decay is the pervasive influence of Ishtar, also known as Ashtoreth, whose spirit has resurfaced to enchant and mislead. Once worshipped for her dual roles as goddess of fertility and sexuality as well as of war and destruction, Ishtar's influence today can be seen in the widespread acceptance and even celebration of sexual liberty and excess, which parallels the historical worship practices that were once centered around her temples. Modern society, with its emphasis on free expression of sexuality and the blurring of traditional moral boundaries, mirrors the ancient rites of sensuality and licentious feasts celebrated in her honor. This transformation does not just reflect a shift in societal norms, but suggests a deliberate revival of Ishtar's archetypal energies, influencing people's behaviors and societal values, pushing them towards a normalization of excesses once deemed immoral. The ease with which these behaviors have been adopted and the fervor with which society pursues these indulgences bear the hallmark of Ishtar's seductive power, drawing parallels between the ancient and modern in a profound echo of her enduring influence. You can see the influence of this enchantress in this generation, a generation of a world filled with, moved by, and motivated by lust, a lust-filled generation, a lust-filled world moved by Ishtar, Astarte. Some of the adverts you see now have nothing to do with the product the advert is trying to sell. It is just 30 seconds of lust-filled material. Then at the end of the advert, the product is shown. Ishtar and Astarte are influencing this generation, a generation where it is now easier than ever to live a promiscuous lifestyle. Why else do you think marriages are on the decline now? Lust. Why else do you think divorces are on the rise? Lust. Why else do you think hookup culture is gaining traction? Lust. There are now apps that you can download that open you up to endless dating prospects within a 5-mile radius of your home. And when I say endless, I literally mean endless dating options. When people are tired of one person, they find it easier to find 100 more new, exciting people within a mile radius of their doorstep. Lust. Astarte has changed this generation. Never in all of history has humanity been so consistently bombarded by this level of lust. Never in all of history has lust been so prevalent in this world. 2 Timothy 2 verse 22. Flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Have you ever noticed how the Bible does not tell you to flee the devil, but it tells you to flee from lust? That should tell you something about lust. Lust will cloud your judgment. Lust will destroy you. Lust will break up your home. Lust will destroy your health. Lust will take your money away. Lust will rob you of your joy. Lust will put a wall between you and God. Lust will throw you into a hole deeper than you ever thought you could go. Lust, unchecked, will leave you in a place where you will wonder, how did I get here? I say all this because I have seen it firsthand with my own eyes. I have seen lust do this to people. One decision made out of lust can literally change your whole life. Please, brothers and sisters, just think. Why would the Bible tell you to wrestle against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness, but then instruct us to flee from lust? Lust is not to be played with. In today's digital age, the influence of Ishtar, historically known as Ashtoreth, is palpable in the pervasive themes of lust and temptation that saturate our media landscapes. Social media platforms, television shows, and advertisements are rife with content that not only highlights but glamorizes sexual allure and material excess. This modern phenomenon mirrors the ancient worship of Ishtar, where rituals and cultural norms celebrated sensuality and the breaking of traditional moral boundaries. The constant barrage of images and messages promoting an idealized form of beauty and a culture of instant gratification taps directly into the base desires and impulses of humanity. Every swipe, click, or channel turn potentially exposes individuals to seductive content that normalizes and encourages sexual freedom as an expression of personal liberty. Such content does not merely exist, it actively engages viewers, drawing them into a web of continuous temptation. This overwhelming presence of temptation is not merely a reflection of changing societal norms, but suggests a deliberate resurgence of the spirit of Ishtar. Her influence in today's society promotes a worldview where the pursuit of pleasure and self-indulgence is not just acceptable, but encouraged, fundamentally altering how individuals interact with and perceive their world. As this ancient spirit's characteristics manifest in modern settings, they challenge individuals to navigate a world where temptations are ever present and moral clarity is increasingly obscured. In this context, it is crucial for those who recognize this shift to stand vigilant against the subtle allure of these ancient practices reborn. As contemporary witnesses to this revival, we are challenged to discern and resist the subtle encroachments of moral decay inspired by Ishtar's legacy. Sin has never been more accessible than it is now. This generation experiences sin in a form vastly different from any before. Today, sin can literally be delivered to our doorsteps. In the past, such as during my parents' era, you had to physically venture out to engage in sinful activities, but now, the previously unimaginable can arrive directly at our homes. The advancement of technology and the digital age has rendered sin not only more accessible, but also more convenient. Previous generations might have been shielded from certain temptations by geographical distance or societal norms, but today's society faces temptations that are merely a click or a tap away. The concept of ordering sin to your doorstep is not just a metaphor, it has become a stark reality. Whether it's indulging in explicit content or participating in sexual immorality, individuals can now engage in these behaviors without ever stepping outside their homes. This unprecedented ease of access to sinful activities introduces significant spiritual challenges, emphasizing the need for believers to remain vigilant, guarding their hearts and minds in a world where sin is literally at their fingertips. This alarming convergence of historical transgressions paints a somber picture of the state of our world today. It is not a mere coincidence or an organic evolution of human culture, but rather appears to be influenced by the revival of ancient spirits such as Ishtar, also known as Ashtoreth. Her spirit, historically associated with fertility, love, and also sexual liberty, has woven its way back into the fabric of our society. In ancient times, Ishtar was worshipped through practices that celebrated and even sanctified sexual excess and moral boundary crossing, and today we see these same elements resurfacing in our cultural and personal behaviors. The normalization of such practices today mirrors the rituals once dedicated to Ishtar, indicating a return to these ancient paths. This resurgence of Ishtar's influence does not just shift societal norms, it molds them to accommodate and even celebrate behaviors that were once confined to specific cultic practices. As these ancient, deific influences permeate our daily lives, they encourage a society that increasingly values personal gratification over moral discipline, reflecting a deep and troubling shift away from traditional moral frameworks. Thus, in this era of easy access to sin, it becomes crucial for those who recognize this historical and spiritual pattern to confront and contend with these influences, striving to uphold values that resist the decay of moral and spiritual integrity.